Wondering what to expect during Aries season? Stick around, guys. We're about to figure that out. Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, I am Leesa. I'm a certified tarot consultant whose goal is to help you leverage the power of the tarot and make your life amazing. And on this channel, I do pick a card readings, Tarotscope readings like this one, deck walkthroughs, and other tarot related videos. So I sure hope that you will hit that like button and subscribe if you have not, so that you can stick around every month and get a little bit of tarot inspiration and guidance. And today, guys, if you have not done the Tarotscopes in the past, I would definitely suggest taking a look at the introductory video that I have available. I will include that link up here as well as down below. But we are going to take a look today at Aries season. So I'm very excited. I think this year I definitely am looking forward to Aries season more than some years in the past. But let me explain how this is going to work for you. I've got a few different parts to this video. In the beginning, I'm going to just talk a little bit about Aries season and what to expect for everyone during that season. And then I will go ahead and cast the cards for the Tarotscope, and you will have the opportunity to follow the timestamps below to make sure that you are looking at your sun, moon, and rising signs. And then, of course, at the end, we will be tapping into the knowledge of this beautiful herbiary deck, the illustrated herbiary deck, and I will pull a card for all of this at the end. So that is the plan, and settle back, guys, take out your tarot journals and get ready to jump in. So if we look at Aries season, we're all the way back at the beginning of the zodiac. So here we are at the start. For me in the Northern Hemisphere, it is all about the beginning of spring. It's about the beginning of the new year. And Aries is actually a cardinal fire sign. So when I think about Aries, I think about energy, I think about action. A lot of times Aries can be sometimes a little bit of a difficult time for us to move through. If you think about the way that you get fire to start, a lot of times you need friction to get it to start. And so sometimes, you know, Aries season for a lot of people can be about sort of uncomfortableness that leads to great things. It's about, you know, getting the gumption to move ahead and jet forward. It's not necessarily about pacing yourself over time, but it's about, you know, having the energy to move ahead. So that is what we are going to take a look at here, is how does that energy combine with your specific birth chart, and we'll take a look at your sun, moon, and rising sign, and to see what you have for this month. So hopefully, like I said, you have a tarot journal. You're able to go ahead and jot these things down and see how these might manifest for you throughout the month. Of course, anything that might be more negative or constructive, then hopefully you are able to prepare for those. So I'm going to go ahead and just finish shuffling here. And once I do, we will jump into the individual signs. All right, so we will go ahead and start with Aries. And if you have your sun in Aries, happy birthday. Otherwise, if this is your rising sign or your moon sign, obviously the sun is here shining on this part of the zodiac. So this should actually be a fairly comfortable part for you, comfortable part of the year. So let's see what we get. Okay, interesting. And so we get, oh, and by the way, guys, I am using the Forest of Enchantment Tarot, and you can see here we have what they call the Forge. So in this deck, the Forge is all about finding a way to find exactly the right type of balance that you need, and then move forward from there. But with it being on its head, I almost see this concept of pushing through and finding imbalance. So when I take that with this concept of Aries, Aries, is about that energy and that push and making an action. So I guess my advice for you, and whether this is your sun, moon, or rising, is going to indicate where this is going to impact you. But I would say be willing to tip the scales, be willing to sort of change where things are landing for you, be willing to take crazy risks and do too much, when you think that might be what is needed. That is what I'm seeing for you this month, Aries, and consider how that might impact you depending on whether it's your sun, moon, or rising sign. So take risks. Don't be afraid of upsetting the apple cart, so to speak. All right, moving on to Taurus. Taurus, what do we have for you this time? Oh, beautiful. All right, so we have the card of Moonlight, and I'm trying to make sure it will see it here. Here we go. So we have the card of Moonlight. So this season, right before Taurus season, right? But this season is all about kind of looking and thinking and glimpsing into yourself, and also to some of those parts of yourself that are hidden, and parts of those areas around you that are hidden. So if this is your moon sign or your sun sign, this could very much be those things that are sort of driving you internally. If this is your rising sign, really take some time to kind of consider some of those things that are hiding in shadows amongst the people around you, the people you work with and that you interact with every day. Think about how that might be the case for you in terms of needing to shed some light. But Moonlight is all about this idea of being able to kind of look and glimpse and see what could be there. It almost looks as though this little rabbit is scrying, and I'm trying to make it so that it will, there we go. It almost looks like this little bunny rabbit is scrying. So that's what I want you to think about. How can you gaze deeper, look deeper, dig deeper into that aspect of your life? So sun, moon, or rising, that's what I see for you, Taurus. All right, moving to Gemini then. Okay, beautiful. All right, so I see this concept of the fairy winds, but in reverse, and I'm really struggling with it, getting it to focus today. Goodness. All right. So this idea of the fairy winds, what type of out of control is going to happen for you this month, Gemini? And I find this interesting because I think Aries season can be so active. And so I think this is almost a warning, make sure that active is not active for the sake of being active. Make sure that you are not just spinning your wheels so that you can say that you are busy. Make sure that the actions that you have, and whether this is your sun, moon, or rising, is going to determine on what aspect of your life you're talking about here. But make sure that you are focusing on things that mean something, and this aren't just movement for the sake of movement, I guess is what I'm saying there. All right, moving on to Cancer. All right, Cancer. And if Cancer is your sun, moon, or rising sign, it is actually sitting square right now with the sun in Aries. So it could potentially be a more difficult time of the year for you, sort of, every year you might notice this with the sun being in Aries. So just think about that as we kind of move into this time period. All right, so we have the Seven of Visions. It's a beautiful card, and I'm having such a hard time with this autofocusing today. All right, but with this card, with this Seven of Visions card, I want you to take some time. In Cancer, I know oftentimes it's not difficult for you to really think and consider deeply about things, especially when it comes to your feelings or the way that your heart is pulling you. But this card has a lot to do with your desires, and whether this is your sun, moon, or rising is going to indicate a lot on whether or not this is, something kind of internally driving you, or if this is more external. But think about, how that sun, moon, or rising in Cancer is sort of combining with this concept of needing to look, needing to consider, looking at your options. Even though Aries season is oftentimes a very busy time, I'm seeing this idea of you needing to kind of weigh what's out there for yourself before making any sort of action, before making any sort of movement. Really kind of weighing everything and looking at it and considering things carefully before moving ahead. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Cancer. All right, Moving on to Leo. Leo, so we have the Nine of Spells, but we have the Nine of Spells reversed. So think about what you have been working so hard for, and whether this is your sun, moon, or rising, of course, is going to indicate what aspect of your life we're looking at here. But, you know, it's important to kind of think about that one thing in that area of your life that you have been pushing really hard for, and then I'm seeing that this season is a time period for you to really reflect and consider, why are you pushing so hard? Why are you fighting so hard? Why are you defending your work so hard? Some of you need to take a step back because you might be a little bit more committed than really warrants, or you might be pushing harder than you really should be doing. So just kind of consider that. Make sure that you are thinking about what you're doing and why you're doing it, and make sure that according to, you know, sun, moon, or rising in this particular incident, make sure that these things make sense for you. I mean, if you review and say, hey, no, I'm right on track, then great. I suspect for many of you that won't be the case, but it's just a time of reflection and thinking about things before charging ahead again. So a pause before the charge of Aries season. All right, moving to Virgo. All right, Virgo. So we have the Six of Boons, but it is reversed. So this season, Virgo, I understand that for many of you that are very Virgo focused, whether this is your sun, moon, or rising, of course, is going to indicate how this normally manifests for you in your life. But Virgo energy is oftentimes very self-reliant. I oftentimes see Virgos doing a lot for other people, but not necessarily expecting a lot in return, or not actually taking from other people much, even when they offer it. And this season is, what I'm getting from this is that during Aries season this year, you may really need to get some help and some support from those people around you. So if this is your sun or your moon or your rising, it's going to indicate what part of your life you're discussing here. What are you taking a look at? And so I would say just make sure that if you see help coming your way, do not just push it away. Do not say, no, I don't need your help. Absolutely take that help, take that assistance. Okay, Virgo, which I know sometimes is opposite of kind of where you are. All right, moving to Libra. And if this is your sun or moon or rising sign, the sun is actually on the other side of the zodiac right now in Aries season, which means there's going to be some tension between your sun or your moon or your rising sign, and it could make things more difficult for you. So let's see what we have in Libra season here for you. All right, so we have the 10 of Boons, but we have the 10 of Boons reversed. And immediately what I'm seeing for many of you out there, and of course, whether this is your sun, moon, or rising is going to indicate kind of what groups we're talking about here, but I'm seeing this idea of struggle within a group, or fighting for ranking, or fighting for making a name for yourself within a group, or, feeling as though you have to justify your existence within this particular group. So this might be a month for you needing to kind of prove that you belong, or prove that you need to be in a particular spot. So for some of you, this might be too much trouble, honestly, whatever this is. So I would suggest really taking a hard look at that. Sometimes, there is just a proving period. And that might be the case for you. If you're in a new job or a new relationship, sometimes you have to show that, yes, this is something that we do need to work for. But for some of you, it's going to be reassessing some groups or relationships that you are in and determining whether or not those things are still worthwhile for you. All right, moving on to Scorpio. All right. Scorpio, we have the Weaver of Challenges, and I love this card. I think this is my favorite card in this entire deck. The Weaver is asking you, Scorpio, to, during Aries season, which is a lot about action and movement, which is interesting because with Scorpio, oftentimes Scorpios are, really getting very good at kind of dissecting and picking apart and analyzing, not in the same way a Virgo would analyze, but analyzing and really considering things. And that's what I'm getting from this Weaver of Challenges. You know, dig deep, pick apart, see what you can find, be really logical about your thinking, which I know is not always the case for Scorpio. But do the best you can to be very logical and exacting in your thinking regarding the area of your life dealing with your sun, your moon, or your rising sign. So depending on what sign you have in Scorpio is going to kind of dictate what area of your life this Weaver is asking you to be more exacting about and think about and considering. But this is a great time of year, early spring in the Northern Hemisphere, getting ready to, you know, move, switch seasons, kind of shift into high gear. It's saying be really aware that you know what you're getting into and be willing to cut things out if they are not necessary. All right, moving on to Sagittarius. All right. Sag, okay, whether this is your sun, moon, I just love this card, guys, by the way. I just want to point out because this is very much, it reminds me of that story of the Frog Prince, if you guys remember that. But I'm seeing for you this month, so Sagittarius, whether this is your sun, moon, or rising, of course, will indicate the part of your life that this is referring to. But take some time and look at that area of life and consider where are the areas that you've had disappointments and things that have been very frustrating for you recently. This is asking you that this season you specifically work to push through those things, look for the positive, start to sweep away those things that you no longer need, and start looking again at the bigger picture. I'm getting a strong message for many of you Sagittarians out there that, you know, you should not get lost in the details and you shouldn't get hung up on some of those little things that are going wrong. And a lot of things are little things, even sometimes when they feel like really big things. So keep that in mind. Find some of those things that this season you can really push through and kind of get yourself a clean slate moving into Taurus season. All right, moving on to Capricorn. And Capricorn, if this is your sun, moon, or rising, the sun is sitting in Aries, which is square in the sky, which could be year after year a more difficult time of year for you in this particular, you know, whether this is your sun or your moon or your rising sign. So just keep that in mind. Every year you might notice a little bit of tension here, but let's see what we get. All right, we get the Weaver of Visions, but she is reversed. So I'm seeing some muddling of insights and muddling of feelings and perhaps some overly dramatic behaviors coming out of this season for you. So Aries oftentimes has some of that sort of friction stuff that I was talking about, and for you sort of double just because of where the sun is sitting. So it's asking you to really keep your head. Whether this is your sun, moon, or rising is going to talk about, it's going to help, you know, you figure out whether or not you're talking about goals or your feelings or your relationships with others. And really, whatever section of your life that is, it's saying, you know, don't let drama get the best of you. Don't let a lack of insight get the best of you. It's asking you to try to turn this upright, in which case, you know, you would make sure that you were being much more insightful about the areas of your life that are being impacted by this card this month. All right, moving to Aquarius, and let's see what you get, Aquarius. And we have the Seven of Boons for you. And I love this card for the beginning of Aries season because this to me speaks about things that you already have in place. So what do you have in place during Aries season that you can continue to cultivate? I mean, look at all these options. Look at all these doors that are sitting here. None of them are open just yet, right? They're all sitting there still kind of closed. You could go and knock. You could kind of push open the door and see what's there. It may or may not be the right time. So there is, and whether this is your sun, moon, or rising, of course, is going to help you figure out what part of your life we're looking at here. But this is asking you to kind of, you know, sit and watch. You have put things down already that are beginning to come to fruition. Could be that towards the end of this season, you're going to start seeing one of these doors at least really begin to crack open. So keep that in mind. Have some patience, okay? But be ready to move towards the end of the season. So you might have to kind of just hold on just a little bit longer before you move ahead. All right, moving on to Pisces. Pisces, we have the Two of Boons, but it is reversed. So Pisces, we're coming right off of Pisces season, and many of you, depending on if this is your sun, moon, or rising sign, many of you would have felt very, very at home in Pisces season. For many of us, it is a time of kind of resting, rejuvenation, all of that. But I want to really tell you, when it comes to Aries season, I'm getting this idea that you need to be not caught unaware. So you can see this gentleman here, he is walking, he's got his bundles here, but and I wonder how many of you guys saw this, there is a troll under the bridge that is going to take him by surprise if he's not paying attention. So for many of you, whether this is your sun, moon, or rising, it's asking you to make sure that you're really making strong preparations. Make sure you know what you need to be doing during Aries season. Don't kind of drift into it like perhaps you may have drifted through Pisces season, as I think many of us do. Aries season is a time to move and a time to react. All right, so that is what I'm seeing for each of the signs. We are going to go ahead and take a look at one final bit. So I'm going to clear the table and then we'll move right there. All right, so on to the final part of the reading. So no matter what sign you are, and no matter what combination of signs you looked at, this is going to give you a bit of extra guidance. And today I am using the beautiful Illustrated Herbiary deck. I did also use the Forest of Enchantment Tarot for the Tarotscope. I actually have done a walkthrough on that. So if you haven't seen this whole deck, it's absolutely gorgeous. I would suggest going ahead and taking a look at that. But we're going to have one last bit of guidance here, and I'm going to ask you actually to have your intuition play into that. So I'm going to ask that you take a deep breath in and let it out and kind of get into a bit of a fuzzy headspace while I am shuffling, because I'm going to ask you to use your intuition here in just a quick minute. By the way, guys, would love to hear about what signs you are following. Give this a thumbs up if you haven't already, just to let me know that you enjoyed it. And I would love to hear a little bit more about what you are seeing for yourself this season. And if you keep a tarot journal, I always find that to be really interesting to see what other people are doing. Okay. So what I would like you to do, guys, I'm going to just lay these 3 pieces of paper out here, and I just want you to go ahead and take a deep breath in and out. And the card that you choose is going to indicate what this message is focusing on. So you have card 1, card 2, and card 3. So which one is speaking to you? If you chose card 1, then this is going to be a reading directed to your head. If you chose card 2, it is directed for your spirit. And if you chose card 3, this is a message for your heart. All right, so the card that we get today is lavender. So whether this is for your head, spirit, or heart, this is about tough love. You can see up there. So, what do you need to kind of get the grips on for yourself during Aries season? I love how, Aries season, we get this very kind of fiery, to me, I would associate, big cats with sort of the fiery element there. So, what do you really need to be tough on yourself about? Tough love is that concept, of course, of, really being honest with yourself and making sure that you are not pulling any punches, so to speak, when it comes to, considering some of your own issues, how you got into those issues, how you can get out of them. So think about head, spirit, or heart. How does this speak to you? And I guess maybe have a cup of lavender tea. Look at that. But that is it for today's reading, guys. I so appreciated having you come by for Aries season. I would love to see you next month, so make sure you're hitting that subscribe button so that you don't miss that. and I will see you next time.